What up? Welcome to episode 3 of Plug Talk, part 2 of what is credit. Episode 2, we talked about the foundations of credit, and today we're going to take a deeper dive into what credit is and why we need it. Now, my philosophy is this, and a lot of times we've heard cash is king, right? And I thoroughly believe that. If somebody, you know what I'm saying, there's that game, big bank take little bank, nobody's coming up like, I got a bigger credit score, big credit score take little credit score, right? That's irrelevant. Or credit card for credit card, right? It's always cash is king because money talks. Here's my thought process. Credit is queen, and I believe she's a black woman. So if cash is king and credit is queen, that must mean that you need both in order to be able to leverage and grow your life and your business in the ways that you want to, okay? So what is credit, right? We talked about credit being our responsibility score. That's how the world at large views us. And to break that down a little bit lower, that's how banks view us. That's how lenders view us. That's how we're able to leverage to become bankable, to use other people's money. That is our responsibility score. Remember, our credit score, our responsibility score is just like our GPA that we got in school and college. But remember, your GPA is irrelevant when it comes to trying to make transactional purchases outside of school. Credit score, responsibility score, credit report is like your report card, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down what is on your credit report, what comes on your credit report, what makes up your credit report, and then what makes up your credit score. So remember, there are 3 different credit bureaus. You have TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and then there's your FICO score. So essentially there's 4 different numbers that you can get. There's algorithms that nobody really knows how they get the way that they do, but there's 6 tenets that make up how we get these 3 numbers, okay? So the 6 different tenets that make up your credit score, and some have different impacts than others. And this might kind of blow your mind a little bit, because here's the thing. Credit doesn't really care the amount. It just cares how responsible you are when it comes to managing the amount, okay? Number 1, payment history. So again, it doesn't really matter the amount. It matters, are you making these payments on time? So are you able to make your payment on time? Are you making at least the minimum payment on time? That is one thing that impacts your credit and has a high impact, is credit payment. That's why if you miss a payment, it's a really big deal because it impacts your credit in a negative way. Number 2, credit card utilization. That's a pretty big word, utilization rate. So if you have a credit limit that's about $10,000 and you use $9,000, $10,000 of that, that means your credit utilization rate is pretty high. What you want to do, and I would advise, and other people would advise you to stay under 30%. So that means if I have a $10,000 balance, you want to stay under $3,000, right? Because that means that's 30% of the $10,000. Reason being is it looks like you're not really dependent on the usage of your credit card. I know it's like, why have the available balance if I can't use it all? Because it's how dependent are you? Again, it goes back to your responsibility. This all has to do with, can people trust you? Are you dependent on this card to live? So if that's the case, then you need to increase your line, your available balance, so that way you can increase the amount you're spending so it doesn't have a negative impact on your credit score. So you want to keep your utilization rate under 30% of whatever your available balance is. Number 3, derogatory marks. Again, this is really just like school, right? Like how many times you have to go to detention, something like that. Basically, a derogatory mark is derogatory. How many times did a bank or did something go to collections or anything like that, a negative remark show up by another bank or lender? This is where if you have bad credit, poor credit, you might have a lot of derogatory marks. Again, if your credit report is like your report card, it's kind of like when the teacher was like, I had to tell them to be quiet, I had to send them to the principal's office, that kind of deal. Your credit report has the same thing on there. And what sucks about this is those marks can stay on there for up to 7 years, but eventually they'll drop off. So that's cool, but you really want to make sure, this is why you want to check your credit, because you want to make sure if there's something on there that isn't right, you need to get that joint off there as soon as possible. But if you just do good work for 7 years, eventually it'll fall off. And this does have a high impact on your credit score. So really make sure you're doing the right thing. You're communicating with people that need to be communicated with, i.e. banks and lenders. Number 4, Age and history. This is what I talked about a little bit last week. If you want to put your kids in a position to have a really good credit score by the time they get older, is you adding them onto your credit cards as an authorized user, because they're going to gain that age and history on their credit. Now, this only has a medium impact, and so it doesn't, if you do it, if you don't do it, it's kind of whatever, but it can help you out. So the sooner you start to build your credit, the longer the history you have, the better it will be for you, because this is something that helps your score, because it shows how long have you been responsible, right? You might have a high score, but if your history is low, it's like you just started being responsible. And so they want to see, do you have a history? Do you have a track record? Can we really trust you being as responsible as what your number shows? And that's why it's broken down in this way. Number 5, total accounts. So this is another thing that I really love, is because a lot of people think that if you have so many different accounts, it's a bad thing. It actually, number one, has low impact. And then the more you have, the more diversification that you have, not just credit cards, but maybe different loans and things like that. It actually can be a really good thing. Again, low impact, but having more accounts doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lower yours. I'm going to show right here mine. This is my actual layout. This is me being transparent, vulnerable. I don't care. This is it. This is me. And as you can see, I have 30 different accounts open, but you see it's in the green, which means it's really good. And so if you go and check your Credit Karma, you'll be able to see all your different accounts. And I'm okay with having all these different accounts open because I'm responsible and my score reflects that, and so does my report. And number 6, inquiries. Inquiries, right? So this one is a little bit tricky because you never really know, is this going to be a soft inquiry, a hard inquiry? You're not really sure. And so you should always ask before you give out your social security number to anybody, any point in time. Always ask, will this show up on my report? When you pull it, is this going to ding me as a negative or a hard hit on my report? Some stuff is just a soft pull where they're just checking it, and that's okay. But you want to be able to have that verbiage. Is this going to show up as a soft or hard pull on my credit report? So before you go do anything, ask that question. So these are the 6 tenets that make up your credit report, that ultimately make up your credit score, which ultimately make up your FICO score. And a quick tip, you can find out a lot of information about car loans, home loans, student loans, all types of things like that, furniture loans, before giving out your actual credit score. You can ask, before giving out your social security number, you can ask them, what are the ranges? You can find out, you can even test drive a car before you even find out the actual amount, or before you even give them your social security number. Don't allow people to force you to give them your social security number, because this can actually have a bigger impact on you, and you don't have to do this until you are ready to take the next steps in this transaction. So here's the crazy thing about credit scores, is it can ebb and flow. Your credit report gets updated about every 7 days. So depending on how you utilize credit cards, I myself pay my credit cards off every single week because I don't want them to reflect on my credit report. As you saw here, I only have a 2% utilization rate. And that's because I try to keep it really low, and sometimes at 0, because when I'm making moves in real estate, I don't want my credit card to show up, because I like to pay those off. So if I can pay those off weekly, they don't necessarily get reported to the credit bureau to where it looks like my utilization rate is high. And then sometimes it just is what it is, and it might knock it down a couple points, it might go up a couple points. But the thing that you really want to focus on is once you get above a 680, a 700, a 720, a 730, you're good. What I like to call this is now you're in leverage land. And leverage land is where you get to play a little bit more. Now, this is the beginning stages of leverage land. Leverage land means now I can really start to leverage my credit score in order for me to be able to get the best interest rates, which is the cost of money. And that's pretty much it. And then I also get more access to other people's money. So once you enter leverage land, which is above 730, really 750, I was being generous, 750 and above, you're good. So here's the thing. The whole point of trying to have a good credit score, in my opinion, as an investor, is so that way I can have really good interest rates, I can pay less for money, and I can obtain more money of other people's money in order to be able to grow my money. If I have less than a 750, my chances or the cost of money goes up higher. So here's the thing. I don't want just a good credit score to be like, look at me. I got a good credit score, right? Like, it's kind of like a dick measuring contest. Like, it's kind of stupid just to have a good credit score, just to say you have a good credit score if you're not doing nothing with it. That's pointless. So the whole point is to be able to leverage it to save yourself and your business money in the long run. So think of it like this. It's like a game. Once you hit 730 plus, 750 plus, woo, you won. Now you want to start seeing, okay, what can I do? How can I start to play with this? Once I saw that I was above 750 and it hit 800, I stopped caring as much. What I mean by that is I still kept my same habits, but I was more risky in different ways as far as applying for different things. I knew it would drop my score. You saw that I have more hard inquiries, but I was okay with that because I knew they had low impact, but I was trying to see where can I get the best bang for my buck, and maybe it would drop my score a couple points, but I didn't care because I was still above 750, which allowed me to still be in the ultimate leverage land. So once you get above 750, you won. Keep those habits and allow it to continue to grow, because now you're in the spot where you can maximize your credit score and leverage it in order to leverage other people's money. So here's what I want you to remember. You want to have a good credit score so you can, number one, save money, right? Save the money on interest and in other areas where you don't have to make unnecessary down payments because you have good credit. The other two is it helps you to leverage other people's money so you can grow and scale your business in other ways, right? The whole purpose is this: save money, make money, right? It takes money to make money. It also takes a really good credit score in order to make that much more money and leverage other people's money. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this: C's get degrees, but LOCs get you the keys. Now, obviously, I'm a proponent of education and I don't want you to not work hard in school, but I want you to be able to make sure that you have a balanced thought process of knowing traditional education and grades will only get you so far. So work hard there, but also take that same work ethic and put it towards your personal life and being able to advance yourself as an adult, because that matters just as much. So to recap, the cognitive thought process for today is why do I want to have a good credit score? What does it matter to me? And also, do I know the credit score of some of my friends and my family and the people around me? What is the average score of my environment? That's something to think about. Then your active thing to do is check your Credit Karma. Get out there and look at all of your numbers. Check your utilization rates and see what your credit usage habits are. How are you building it? How are you bringing it down? How are you monitoring it? Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 3 of Plug Talk. I look forward to growing with you. Let's grow.